Георгий Чевчан and Arkadiy Tsarigradsev. Supported by present a documentary by Anatoly zaRRubin. Gocha, Japan. With his own car from Russia to a drifting event. In all my life, I would have never thought that so many people in Russia are rooting for me. If I knew back then that so many people were keeping track, and so many were fans, it had been so much harder for me to race, since I'd have a feeling of responsibility amplified tenfold, and it would be tougher to compete. It's a good thing I never knew just how many people were watching. I didn't even know that there would be a live broadcast. Honestly, all the feedback on the internet amazed me. There was a lot of feedback. Everyone was watching, everyone was keeping track. I posted a few things on my VK page which garnered an unbelievable amount of shares. I wondered why people found this to be so interesting. And when I got there, I finally realized that we were the first Russians in the D1 series, damn it! Why shouldn't this be interesting and awesome? If you don't know what D1 GP is, then you don't know your drifting. D1 GP is where it's at. They're the founding fathers, the world's very first drifting championship. Obviously, they held it in Japan, since drifting came to be in Japan way back in the 1980s. They taught the entire world how drifting is done right. They promoted the idea across the globe. In certain places, it stuck, while in other regions, it transformed into something slightly different. For example, the sideways drag racing we see in America, with their gigantic motors and everything. If we look at Europe, in some places, albeit not everywhere, they drive at extreme angles while not staying too close to each other. To visit and have a look at how it's done by the forefathers, to see what it's all about, to see how they roll in the world's best drifting championship. This is a must for any self-respecting fan of drifting. When I realized I was going to Japan, I told Arkadiy, you just have to make this trip with me. I'll feel uneasy without you there. Despite us constantly racing and competing against each other, we still hang out, and some of the things that we can say to each other help clarify a bunch of issues. You can say we support each other. I was aware that if Tsarigradsev came along, that would mean a lot in terms of support, since he's a very reasonable guy who is quite knowledgeable when it comes to motorsports. His company would give me peace of mind. A long time ago, when I started taking part in this whole culture, when I started organizing events and even participating in them, I always knew that the Japanese were boss. I knew I had to do whatever it takes to get there. And all of a sudden, literally out of nowhere, this idea was born and an opportunity came about to go to Japan. And not just for a trip, mind you. I mean, that's something anyone can accomplish, right? No, we had a chance to bring a car there as well. That's the interesting part. Gocha set course for Japan. And I'm like, great, Gocha's heading there, but I'm probably gonna pass. At some point, maybe 7 or 10 days prior. I was driving to work. And all of a sudden, a realization came upon me. I thought, am I an idiot? I mean, why am I not going to Japan? It's worth, I mean, you can't put a price on your dream, right? I just have to go there. End of story. Arkasha spent most of his time in the service area studying other people's cars. He was peeking under people's hoods, checking out their suspension setups, their cabins. The preparation quality of a race car is very important, and we always took an example from the Japanese and continue to do so. That's why we were so keen on chilling in the service area and checking out some cars. I didn't really have that much time, but Arkady managed to take some photos and memorize a thing or two. Any Japanese dude who competes in the D1 series sees his car as an advertising platform for his sponsors. That's why they're always squeaky clean and tidy. You always see some very unusual engineering solutions aimed at making the car stand out among others. It has to catch people's attention so that they take pictures. Unfortunately, not so many people in Russia have the same approach. Many people whine like, I don't have any sponsors, why aren't sponsors interested in me? Well, let's start by having a look at your car. Are sponsors willing to have their brands associated with your piece of trash, to put it bluntly? If your answer to that question is no, well, keep trying then. Your car has to be shiny, it has to attract people's attention. And when you're walking down the service area looking at 50 cars of that caliber, you realize that, yeah, this is where it's at. And this is what we should aspire towards. When it comes to the tech, the cars are quite different. Most of them have a lot of horsepower, obviously, but the builds themselves are simple. Many cars are rocking stock suspension links. Lots of people use simple Greddy turbines, the old-school journal-bearing ones. They work great for everyone. Nobody cares for complicated twin-turbo setups or twin-charger deals. That's the last thing on everybody's mind. They just stick a huge turbo on an SR20, well, a medium-sized one, good for 500 horsepower. Add some spray, and they're off. That's the D1 recipe. Nobody cares for custom trickery. Most of the drivers tend to avoid complicated solutions. Cars often crash in D1, and you want to be able to fix everything as fast as possible. That's why they keep it simple. The cars in the D1 series definitely have no advantages. It's the same story all around the world. Unless we're talking about America, where you need 1,000 horsepower to get even the slightest edge. And that's the most important thing. This is a key element of the Japanese ideology. They returned to this very ideology in 2014 when they banned nitrous injection in order to eliminate the 1,000 horsepower cars. If you were to build a car with 1,000 horsepower without spray, that means you'll always be driving below boost threshold. And that's no way to go. They continue to promote this philosophy. You have to be able to beat anyone even in a 350 horsepower car if you consider yourself a pro. That's the drifting ideology. Our cars are already up to par. That's what Arkady keeps saying, and I agree with him. Engineering-wise, the Russians are comparable to the Japanese. The most important part is to accelerate, initiate drift, and properly navigate the first corner. This is a crucial part. The cornerstone of Japanese drifting is initiation, the so-called furidashi. But that's the point, you see. If you execute a proper furidashi, but you don't make it to the end of the track, say you spun out, but if you still manage to go perfectly 80% of the way, you will receive a good score. That's the difference compared to how we judge things here in Russia. Here, if you had a great run, but you spun out at the end, you'll receive 0 points, since you didn't make it, right? Meanwhile, these guys are judged by electronics. 90% of the score is calculated automatically. Basically, they use a race logic unit, but with software redesigned by the Japanese. It measures angle, speed, and trajectory. Speed and trajectory are the foundation. Most of the Japanese drifters realize this and cheat slightly. They drive at a modest angle. I mean, it's still good, so the wheels aren't straight, but it's modest, so no backwards entry. However, they are going at high speed, thus netting a high score. The rest is added by the judges, who can assign between +5 and -5 points. If you don't figure out how the DOSS system works, then you have a much lower chance of qualifying and getting good results. The judges use this system to force drivers into going fast, so that they don't slow their cars down during transitions. So they created this system for a good reason. I'm glad they use it, and personally I like it, because this thing does recognize a true quality drift. Okay, so from where I stand, it's quite obvious that you have to accelerate as hard as you can. The sensors measure the speed at which you go through this section, as well as initiation angle. Basically, you have to trick the sensors by accelerating as hard as possible and initiating at the widest possible angle, and make everything work from there. I'd like to point out that everyone has their own way of initiating a drift. But the harder you accelerate, the more likely you are to slam into the concrete. So you should compromise. Find a happy medium as to achieve a good speed and not stuff your car into the wall. In my mind, I really wanted to qualify. I realized that this wasn't an easy task. I mean, 40-something drivers, and most of them being utter maniacs. And your objective is reaching the top 16. I knew we had to roll, despite the fact that we didn't really get a feel for the track, but we had to give it a go. All I did was accelerate super hard, violently initiate. Basically, I did everything I could, and it seems to have worked. The D1 series qualification procedure is quite interesting. First of all, you have to qualify not just in the top 16, but in the top 8. This is due to the fact that the best 8 drivers from the previous event don't have to qualify at all. So for you to compete in the top 16, you have to find your way into the top 8. A merely difficult task became a daunting one. We had to claim one of the first 8 spots out of 40+ drivers, and when we monstered our way into 3rd place, that was such an amazing feat. We were smiling the entire evening after that. We realized that coming here was a great idea. It all paid off. First our 4,500-kilometer trip all the way to Vladivostok, and then taking a ferry to Japan, and then sorting out all the logistics to get to Tokyo. We arrived and we gave everyone a run for their money. It feels as if I just got out from behind the wheel after qualifying for D1 with a score of 97.88. That's a very high score. Not many drivers got into the 97s, with only a few cars scoring 98 and above. We'll learn the results soon enough, but it feels like, I had such a strong sensation as if I was out there going for it, and I'll be the one attending the D1 parade at the final event in Adaiba, and competing in the tandem passes. That's just, yeah, I don't even know what to say. Ilya Fedorov is the Far East champion. I think he's actually the 2-time Far East champion, if I'm not mistaken, as well as the winner of the 2012 Super Drift Battle. He's an excellent driver. It's always a pleasure driving with him. He often visits us to compete, and not only in the Super Drift Battle, but in regular events too. Coming to Japan was the logical thing for him to do. First of all, he's the Far East champ, and second, he lives right next to Japan, so he has zero problems shipping his car. The Prim Ring guys helped him out with that. And so he also came to compete. The only thing is that his car isn't quite up to D1 standards. For me, his result, I was expecting him to have a much better stint than he did. He just got unlucky. I mean, it's D1. 50 drivers come out here to compete, and only 16 are allowed further passage. While the remainder of those 50, yep, Ilya happened to find himself among them. He wasn't able to qualify. I mean, it happens. The Japanese guys never get upset about it. Everybody knows that this is where it's at, and that to reach the top 16, you have to have luck on your side. Unfortunately, he didn't luck out, but Gocha did. We are Russians from Siberia. Here's what I drive in Russia. 500 horsepower. 500? Yeah, 500 horsepower. Yeah, so Arkady went around showing his car to everybody on his phone. He's like, here's my GTR, we're always competing with Gocha, we always meet up in the finals, and here's my GTR. Let me show you what I drive in Russia. It's a GTR. A GTR? Yes, it's a Drift Spec GTR. Not the new one, but the old body style. Oh, an R32. Yeah, Nissan Skyline. Oh, Federal. Yes, Federal tires. They sponsor me. Well, back in Russia. Oh, Russian. He obviously doesn't understand what's going on. And here's my suspension. HKS Hypermax D. What? HKS Hypermax D. Oh, HKS. And some custom knuckles. What? Custom knuckles. Knockers? Yes, knuckles. Custom, self-made. Australia? He obviously doesn't understand what he's talking about. Yeah, I raced in the championship. I actually won the championship this year. I'm the champion. Oh, champion. Awesome. And my friend on the yellow Sylvia is second. This one? Yeah, he's second. And last year he was first and I was second. What I was thinking about during the parade, how to swing the flag so that everybody sees that we're here. And here's Gocha. If you look closely, he's a handsome dude, isn't he? What do you have to say, Gocha? Thank you, Japan. Oh, thank you, Japan. Great, Gocha's a nifty guy. Hibino is a beast. Yeah, Hibino is a beast. Well, that was cute. Moving along. Hibino is a very potent D1 GP driver. He used to drive an AE86 Hachiroku. He's a true driver, the real deal. His driving style is awesome. For the last 2 seasons, he's been rocking the new 86 with an EJ207 motor, sporting a 30 Series Garrett. It's a very powerful and proper D1 GP race car. The guy has been competing in D1 GP for as long as the series has been around, and he's currently one of the top drivers in D1 GP and in drifting, period. It's normal for Japanese drivers to be around 40 years of age, or maybe even older. So to them, we're basically schoolboys. Exactly, schoolboys. And our 3-4 years of experience really don't mean a whole lot to them. When setting off the line, you must obey the signals. You have to see each other. Okay, I get it. You must look over and make sure you understand each other. Only then you start. So we look over and make sure we understand each other and we start simultaneously, right? Make sure you have eye contact. But don't look at each other while you're driving. Just look at each other from the start and go. Look at each other, okay, and go. For example, you're a driver and I'm a driver. I look at you, you look at me. Okay, go. Right, got it. This you shouldn't do. Right, I understand. Because of different power levels, some have 1,000, you for example have 500. On the straightaway you might hit the gas. These sorts of things aren't welcome at all. They consider it a mistake because the cars all have different power levels. Some have 1,000, some have 500. Some drivers like to cheat. But most of them are completely honest. There shouldn't be any advantages from the starting line thanks to horsepower. I remember reassuring myself like, it's all good, I'll have a good run with 0 issues. So I engaged first gear and waited for the start. Once you're off, you really don't remember what happens next. Hietanen looks good in leading position. Hietanen is off to a good start, nice angle, and Gocha. Gocha's coming closer. Well, isn't that something? Look at them go. Awesome. Now that's spectacular. I mean, it's his first time competing here, isn't it? Russia's looking happy. Wonderful. Well done. It's a tie. Unbelievable. He's tied with Hietanen. Wow. Well done, Korevian. We don't know much about him, do we? Those Russians are crazy. He's really going for it. They're giving it their all, and Gocha's astonishing. A crazy guy. What do you know? Korevian came out on top. Wow, that's amazing. Hietanen was defeated by a Russian driver. The Japanese were screaming Gocha, Gocha, Georgi Korevian. That was the main buzzword during the Odaiba D1 stage. They were genuinely amazed. They didn't realize what just happened. They didn't understand how some dude who drives somewhere on his own in Russia, albeit in a Silvia just like all of them, they didn't get just how he was able to manage such fantastic runs. They were truly shocked. Their stereotypes left in ruins. They regarded him as an extra. Like, yeah, he'll appear in the protocol, he'll try to qualify, sure, right. It's like some dude came from Russia, but he failed. Sorry, this sort of thing happens. However, he made it to the top 8. This was truly a shock to them. In a positive way, of course. D1 has a very positive vibe to it. I have no idea what happens backstage, but from the outside everything looks cool. And for the viewers, it's meant to look like a celebration. And that's why Gocha's success was also something to celebrate. The following is a mix of Russian, English, and Japanese. Well done. Well, thank you very much. It would be nice to see you continue competing, understand? Okay, okay. We had a chat with each other. And you're a fine chap. I'm personally very fond of you. There's so much I'd like to say to you, but I can't because of the language barrier. I'm sorry, I can barely understand you, but thank you very much. You're going second. You're the one chasing, right? Otoy. Yes, Otoy. Right, gotcha. And since I'm behind, I have to catch up, right? Right here. Right, got it. Okay, so no need here. Well, you could if you want. There's absolutely no need to give it all you've got. Number 55, Emmanuel Amandio, going up against car number 74, Georgi Korevian. Wow, Gocha! What is up with him? He is really going for it. This guy is a complete nut job. They seem to have made contact, but they're still going. Gocha is on fire. Unbelievable, just like in the good old days of drifting. What's up with Gocha? He really shouldn't have spun out. To this very day, I watched this round over and over again. The initiation when Gocha was completely hidden behind Amandio's car, and when he dove out from behind it. He was the first to initiate, and while Amandio was completing his initiation, Gocha had already caught up with him. At this point, the Japanese were screaming their lungs out because this was the kind of top-level drifting you rarely see when watching D1 events on video option. Not bad, Korevian, not bad. Thank you very much, Korevian. You've done well. Korevian, come visit us again sometime. Before the transitioning point, there's a slow section which looks like a tit, and a lot of people come to an abrupt halt there. Since Amandio was rocking a r.roo, he started slowing down a bit too early because the r.roo is a barge. I miscalculated my maneuver and got on the brakes a little too late. I hit the side of his car and damaged my suspension. Basically, he damaged the steering knuckle. I bent the steering rod's bent. He wasn't able to progress any further. Gocha was the leader during the second round. He got up to speed, initiated a drift, went backwards and came to a halt, since the suspension wasn't working. Our D1 GP performance was over at that point. We reached the top 8, so basically if you factor in the qualification, we finished in 5th place. Georgi Chivchan's successful performance in the D1 GP series provided an opportunity to realize just where Russian drifting in general stands when compared to the world's leading drivers. It also encouraged the Japanese to partake in Russian Drift Series events, the Super Drift Battle, as well as to organize collaborative events in Russia in the city of Vladivostok. Whose case is this? Oh, there are two of them. I'm pretty exhausted since we've been sleeping for 5 hours a day and we're going through a lot more energy than we usually do. That's what forces us into making these kinds of decisions, namely sleeping on the concrete. Well, at least we're trying to get some sleep. I thought we'd come here and be alone, but that's not the case. It's quite busy. So no sleeping then. On the second day, they held a D1 World Championship event. It's an experimental D1 thing. As far as I know, they wanted seasoned drivers from all around the world to come. But in reality, it was just us in Thailand. And Amandio from Malaysia. So basically, this World Championship turned out to be an Asian-Russian event. Anyway, they orchestrated everything in such a way that the top 16 was completely occupied by Japanese drivers. What sort of message were they trying to convey? It was pretty weird. It's a confusing story. We found ourselves at the D1 World Championship. It wasn't easy getting there, but since the spot suddenly opened up, because Kawabata became the D1 GP champion, a vacant spot opened up in the protocols, and the judges decided that I should be the one to fill that spot. I think it had something to do with our decent run at stage 6 of D1 GP. I wouldn't say that it pleased us a whole lot. They put us up against Kawabata. Kawabata is one of the greatest drivers in D1 GP. This guy used to drive a Sylvie and now he's rocking a GTR. And on the next day, on Sunday, we're up competing against him, the 2013 D1 champ, which is as fresh a champ as they come. I fell behind during acceleration, but I caught up after initiating, and then I just did what I could. We lost 1 point or even half a point to him. So, we good or what? I said to myself, well, we lost 1 point to Kawabata, and immediately after that I'm like, we could have won. It's just 1 point, that's like nothing. Here comes an excuse. The suspension wasn't working properly. You always find an excuse when you lose. Let that be our excuse. The suspension wasn't working properly. Well, it genuinely wasn't working. I can't say whether it affected the outcome or not, but let that be our story. I had no problem losing to Kawabata. I wasn't really thinking about anything. I mean, I already participated, which is cool. When you lose, you really shouldn't feel anything. It's all good. Championships are not made for you to win all the time, but to compete. My reaction? Well, what's done is done. Whatever. In my thoughts, I was already at Ebisu. It was time to make our way over there. We got through D1, and in our minds, we were victorious in a big way. So yeah, what's done is done, and let's just call that practice. So you've got a tube going into your mouth too? He's talking about the water methanol injection system. No, it's just that we have low-quality fuel in Russia. And we use this to normalize exhaust gas temperatures. What kind of vodka do you use? Well, the cheapest one we can find. Wow, that's cool. And it sounds cool too. My name is Georgi. George. Ah, George!
Thank you.
So this is your Russian car that you brought to Japan? Wow. I live in the center of Russia. First it goes 5,000 kilometers in a trailer to Vladivostok City in Russia, and then a ship to Toyama. So it takes 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Wow, that's some journey. Hypermax, short travel. DG5, long travel. No, it's okay. Hypermax, short travel, no comfort. We just had a talk. We're from Denmark, Scandinavia. We also do drift. And we were discussing how to get our cars here, by plane or by ship. It's easy to send it by ship from Denmark. Yeah, true. No need for any trailers. Oh, vodka, vodka. He's on about the water methanol injection system again. Take a shot of vodka and go for it. When you're driving hard on the boost, this reduces exhaust gas temperatures. And it also keeps you warm. One drink and you're good. We went to the Nürburgring a few weeks ago for the Drift Cup. Some Brits came along. We've seen quite a few drivers, but you're really good. Amazing. No nitrous, vodka, okay. So you're going to take it back to Russia? Well, yeah, it's high time for me to head back, so that I can resume my training. I understand, it's not simple. But what you've achieved is very cool, it's a dream. A real dream come true. Good car, good. And this is my friend Arkady. He's the reigning drift champion. He races an R32 GTR. I also race an R32. Let me show you. Looks nice. Yeah, like D1 style. I'll try to find mine. The Ibisu racetrack is paradise for any drifter. I knew it would be pure sacrilege if I didn't bring my car there. This track was basically built on the territory of a zoo. When driving between segments, you see elephants, tigers, and so on, so it's quite an interesting place. It's a mountain complex, not even remotely intended for motorsports use. In essence, it's a sketchy place where you have animals, a kitchen, and an array of tracks which are somewhat looked after. This isn't motorsport, this is what you'd call for fun. Nobody's watching you. There you can drive drunk, with no helmet, on a beat-up car, and nobody will say a word. However, if you do run off the track and call some sort of brigade, they will come for you, eventually. Every now and then, usually a few times a day. A supervisor will go out on patrol and make sure that everything is in order, so that there aren't too many dead bodies and smashed cars on the track. And if all is good, he leaves. You do your own tire service, your own car repair. So basically, as soon as you enter the gate, you're on your own. I felt a little bit bad driving my car there. You can hit a pothole, there's a ravine just beyond the track, and so on. One wrong move and you can destroy your car or roll it over. That's why most of the time you see missiles there. Turbocharged cars which were purchased on the cheap and can sort of hustle. Those things are completely bombed out since they're always stuffing them into walls. They rarely have anything beyond a welded diff, an LSD or coils, and nobody cares about steering angle. Everybody's driving on quite narrow tires, and all in the name of skill and fun.
The grizzly is back, the California bear of rap. I've been asleep in the den, now my eyes are cracked. Belly full of hunger with a diamond back. You hear the crack of the thunder under my attack. Man in nature, trying to come up with some land and paper. They say that in this era still wants to make the best of the time that we left to stay here. You hear the bastard that turned prince. Head into the castle, they kneeled at my service. That's when I'm rising, I'm on your purpose. The ones who stood still, I bought tickets to the circus. Better smile for you die, dummy. And me mugging don't mean nothing. Live lovely, make money, build something. And catch the snakes in my garden before they take from me.
There's some utter nuggets parked down there. A bunch of Europeans, they're all wrenching, their motors are shaking and they're pouring water into their radiators. They're leaking all sorts of fluids, but they just keep on going. Now that's some true hardcore stuff. A lot of guys from Australia come over here to chill. Half of the cars here belong to them. They come here in groups of 50 people. They're very positive guys, always willing to give some advice, to help out with your tires and so on. They live right here in some kind of dorm at Ibisu. I brought it from Russia. From Russia? Really? We just flew over here last night. That's insane! From Russia? That's a long way. Yep. I competed at Odaiba in D1, and I've come here to practice. So you're taking it back afterwards? Yes, in 3 days. In 3 days? Yeah, we're here for only 3 days. Oh, wow. Here's another very nice car. See ya. Goodbye. You suck! 3, 2, 1. You suck. Ebisu is a fantastic place to boost your skill. The segments themselves are quite small. They're pretty slow, with maybe a handful of fast corners. But for the most part, the tracks are tight, very technical, and narrow. It's all up to your skill. If you know how to work the wheel, you'll make it into every single corner and get everything right. If not, learn. That's what Ebisu is made for. A few of the segments have a modest wall, which you can approach on throttle while learning to touch the wall with your rear bumper. You can then proceed to Minami and accelerate downhill. Big thanks to Timon for lending me his freshly bought and awesome SX. Having a go at Ebisu is a dream come true. This is dream number 2 after visiting D1. Coming to Minami, accelerating downhill and initiating while heading towards a wall, that's just the best. It's much more frightening in real life than on video. You have to accelerate like crazy, initiate while on throttle, and fly towards the wall on a prayer. The wall is covered with slash marks from dudes who flew towards it on a prayer. Driving there without practice is impossible. This is the track that will devour you if you don't practice. What sucks most about Minami is that you're driving uphill, and when it's time to initiate, you don't see the wall. You don't have any guidelines for when you're aiming. You can see the roof above the bleachers, which then transcends into the wall, but you can't see the wall itself. However, you have to make visual evaluation of where you need to go. So you initiate based on your own estimates, give or take 1 meter. In order to properly hone your butt meter, you need to have about 500 goes to drive like the guys from D1. So yeah, it isn't easy. It takes about as much time as on the red ring, right? Getting around that track on one configuration or another. But you spend 3 times the energy. It's all because you have to work. For starters, you have to be brave in order to drive next to the wall, and the faster you go, the better your chances of making it to the next corner. The subsequent corner is counter-slanted, and it's a bit rough. When you reach the incline, the car hooks up. So yeah, this takes energy. You can't practice for long like on the red ring. It's exhausting. One of the coolest courses is undoubtedly the Toge, where you first go uphill, into a closed corner, and then down. One wrong move and you flip your car. You can either fall off a cliff into some trees, or you can drive into the mud and flip over. And the speeds are quite high. It's an adrenaline rush. Many D1 GP pilots still practice here. They still come here on their missiles and hit the course. Hey Serge, can you check the left wheel? Are the links intact? We're gonna have to try and move it, or use a forklift. Try and move it? Yes, very slowly. Can I try? No, we've already tried. Have you tried driving forward really slowly? We tried many times. It's no use. It's stuck. Can I give it a try? I've done it many times before. A lot of cars crash here. Okay, why not? Go for it. You really never know. All right, stand clear, please. Stop. 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 Further, you'll break something else. We're going to need a forklift after all. Forklift? Will you be able to get a forklift under the car? Of course, we do it all the time. Okay, so forklift it is then. Gocha, Japan. A film by zaRRubin. The end? My main conclusion, I figured that one out before. We're on the right track. We're going the right way in terms of advancing drifting in Russia. It's very important. I wanted to make sure that we were doing everything right. That Alexander Smolyar is leading a proper series. Denis Marcel is leading a proper series. Dmitry Semenyuk is leading a proper series. It was an important thing for me to figure out, whether I get it or not. I've never been to Japan, and I thought we might be getting the wrong message. But no, we're interpreting everything correctly indeed. We're doing the right thing. It's a proper movement. And the rest, well, yeah, they have an awesome old championship going on with great pilots, but we'll reach their level one day. We're making massive strides. We'll be just like them, maybe even better. I'll definitely return to D1 GP, without a doubt. On October the 17th through 19th, 2014, we will go to Tokyo again to participate in the final stage of D1 GP. You can root for our team during the live stream, or by watching the vlogs which we will be uploading during our stay in Japan. Your thoughts on Ukrainian and Russian pilots? Осторожно. Beware. Помогите. Help. Помогите. Help. I need to take it out for a spin to make sure the engine's working okay. May I? No. Because the street's busy? No, because of the police. Okay, I guess I'll have a go at a dive tomorrow then. Yep. Just in case there are any issues, we've come a long way. Anything could have happened. Sometimes we have trouble with the suspension. It's a long road, it hurts the suspension. You understand, don't you? Maybe something's off. No, wait till tomorrow. Sure, tomorrow it is then. I understand. Police and whatever. Yes, police. Your thoughts on the Russian guy participating in D1? He's an awesome driver. He's amazing. Very nice. It's his first time at D1 and he made it to the top 8 right off the bat. Very good, very nice. I think he's a very good driver, very high level. I'd like to compete with him myself next time. Polish vodka guy. I see where the vodka came from, but Polish? You were great in Tokyo. I saw you drive. Everybody was talking about your vodka injection. Oh, right. Thank you. Well, what do you know? Gocha had a great run. A round of applause for him, yeah? I have to say, Russia will go a long way at this pace. Russia, Krasnoyarsk, 2014.